Greetings, 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 and welcome to Storytime with Dr. Helen Tinsley. It's Marvelous Monday. We're back to another week. Can't believe how quick these days and weeks are going. Months into this coronavirus, and I've been sharing stories with you. I don't know, maybe 100 days. I have lost track. I used to do a daily count. I have to update my Facebook to find out how many days. Nevertheless, I'm here with you reading stories, to read stories again. Happy to be here. Hi, Carlton. Um, so, again, I hope all is well. Excuse me. I just want to remind people coronavirus is very, very much alive and around us. If you go out, wear your mask. If you go out, practice social distancing. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. The more people stay in, the less this thing will spread and it will eventually die out and we can return to our normal lives. Just to show you, America is 3% of the world's population and has 25% of the world's coronavirus cases. Let that sink in. This country has 1/4 of all the coronavirus cases in the entire world. So we are not doing well as a country. And each and one of us has a responsibility to practice social distancing. Stay home if you can. If you're in a position to stay home, stay home. Find things to entertain yourself at home. We're not stuck at home, we're safe at home. Shift that mind. I'm enjoying my time at home, even though I miss the interaction, the physical interaction with people. But I've learned how to enjoy me and all the many aspects of me and the things that I like to do and the things that motivate me and give me encouragement. I read, I cook, I like to do gourmet meals. I do crossword puzzles now. I haven't done those in years. I bought a dartboard, a magnetic dartboard. It gets a lot of that energy out. Okay, throwing those darts. Woo! Okay, I garden indoors and outdoors. I have my bike. I don't ride that much, but it's different things. We got to keep our mind active. We got to keep our body active. We got to stay prayed up. Um, do all of those things, and we'll get through this together. So I'm here with you. And I hope that my stories provide you one little tiny bit of respite from the day to day stress of coronavirus. So, with that said, let's begin. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in the stories that I read every day. I am sorry, but I have got to respond to this text that just came in. Okay. Um, I apologize. It was urgent. Yes, keeping active is the key, Carlton, physically, mentally, spiritually, holistically. So, our story for today is a sequel, and I don't have the original, the first book, but it's called Boundless Grace. And this is a sequel to the story Amazing Grace. And it's by Mary Hoffman and Carolyn Bench. Boundless Grace. Make sure I'm holding these pictures. Grace lived with her ma and Nana and a cat called Paw Paw. And next to her family, what Grace liked best was stories. Some she knew and some she made up. She was particularly interested in ones about fathers because she didn't have one. You do too have a father, her ma said when she caught Grace talking that way. I must have told you 100 times about how we split up and your papa went back to Africa. He has another family now, but he's still your father, even though he doesn't live with us anymore. Well, that wasn't Grace's idea of a father. She wanted one like Beauty's, who brought her roses from the beast's garden in spite of the dangers. Not only, not one she hadn't seen since she was very little, and only knew from letters and photographs. And in her school reading books, Grace saw that all the families had a mother and a father, a boy and a girl, and a dog and a cat. Our family's not right, she told Nana. We need a father and a brother and a dog. Well, said Nana, I'm not sure how Pawpaw would feel about a dog. And what about me? Are there any Nanas in your school book? Grace shook her head. Do I have to go then? Asked Nana. Of course not, Grace said, hugging her. Nana hugged her back. A family with you in it is a real family, she said. Families are what you make them. Then one day Grace got home from school. She saw a letter on the table with a crocodile stamp on it. Grace knew it must be from Papa, but it wasn't Christmas or her birthday. Guess what? Ma said. Your papa sent the money for 2 tickets to visit him in Africa for your spring vacation. Nana says she'll go with you if you want. What do you say? But Grace was speechless. She had made up so many fathers for herself, she had forgotten what the real one was like. Grace and Nana left for Africa on a very cold gray day. They arrived in the Gambia in golden sunshine like the hottest summer back home. It had been a long, long trip. Grace barely noticed the strange sights and sounds that greeted her. She was thinking of Papa. I wonder if Papa will still love me, thought Grace. He has other children now. And in stories, it's always the youngest that is the favorite. She held on tightly to Nana. Outside the airport was a man who looked a little like Papa's photo. He swung Grace up in his arms and held her close. Grace buried her nose in his shirt and thought, I do remember. In the car, she started to notice how different everything seemed. There were sheep wandering along the roadside and people selling watermelon under the trees. And when they reached her father's compound, there was the biggest difference of all. A pretty young woman with a little girl and a baby boy came to meet them. Grace said hello, but couldn't manage another word all evening. Everyone thought she was just tired, except Nana. What's the matter, honey? She asked when they went to bed. You've got a brother, a father, and a brother now, and they even have a dog. But Grace thought, they make a storybook family without me. I'm one girl too many. Besides, it's the wrong ma. The next day, Grace started to get to know Nanny and Bakara. The children thought it was wonderful to have a big sister all the way from Africa, and Grace couldn't help liking them too. But she had to feel cross with someone. Grace knew lots of stories about wicked stepmothers, Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel. So she decided to be cross with Jatu. I won't clean the house for her, she thought. I won't eat anything she cooks, and I won't let her take me in the forest. Jatu made a big dish of savory benakin for lunch, but Grace wouldn't eat any. I'm not hungry, she said. She's probably still getting over the long flight, said Jatu. When Papa came home from work, he found Grace in the backyard. He sat beside her under the big old jackfruit tree. This is where my grandma used to tell me stories when I was a little boy, he said. Nana tells me stories too, said Grace. Did she ever tell you the one about how your ma and I came to split up? Asked Papa. I know that one, said Grace, but I don't want to hear it right now, and she covered up her ears. Papa hugged her. Would you like the one about the papa who loved his little girl so much he saved up all his money to bring her to visit him? Yes, I'd like that one, said Grace. Okay, but if I tell you that story, will you promise to try to be nice to Jatu? You're both very important to me, said Papa. Grace thought about it. I'll try, she said. The next day they went to the market. It was much more exciting than shopping at home. Even the money had crocodiles on it. Lots of the women carried their shopping on their head. Then they went to a stall that was like stepping inside a rainbow. There was cloth with crocodiles and elephants on it, and cloth with patterns made from pebbles and shells in so many colors. We can choose cloth for Grace's first African dress, said Papa. Grace and Nana spent a long time choosing. No one was in a hurry. The days of Grace's visit flew by. She played in the ocean with her brother and sister, and she told them a bedtime story every night. She told all the stories she knew: Beauty and the Beast, Rapunzel, Rumpelstiltskin. It was amazing how many stories were about fathers who gave their daughters away, but she didn't tell them any about wicked stepmothers. Sometimes Ma called from home, and her voice made Grace feel homesick. I feel like gum stretched all out thin in a bubble, she told Nana, as if there isn't enough of me to go around. I can't manage two families. What if I burst? Seems to me there is enough of you, Grace, said Nana. Plenty to go around. And remember, families are what you make them. Soon it was their last evening, and there was a big farewell party at the compound. Grace and Nana wore their African clothes, and Grace ate twice as much bannock as everyone else. Now you really might burst, said Nana. On their last morning, Papa took Grace to see some real crocodiles. This is a special holy place, he said. Children at home, don't do this. This is a story. Don't do this. The crocodiles are so tame you can stroke them. Not like the ones in Peter Pan, said Grace. No, these are special. You can make a wish on them. Grace closed her eyes and made a wish, but she wouldn't say what it was. Remember, if you see an alligator or a crocodile, don't touch them. This is a story. Later at the compound, Grace asked Nana, why aren't there any stories about families like mine that don't live together? Well, at least you stop thinking it's your family that's wrong, said Nana. Now, until we get back home and find some books about families like yours, you'll just have to make up a new story of your own. I'll do that, said Grace. And when we're home again, I'll write it down and send it to Jatu to reach to Nehe and Bakari. The whole family came to see them off at the airport. Grace was sorry to say goodbye to her new brother and sister, and even to her stepmother. But leaving Papa was hardest of all. Waiting for their plane, Nana asked Grace if she had thought any more about her story. Yes, but I can't think of the right ending, said Grace, because the story is still going on. How about they lived happily ever after? Asked Nana. That's a good one, said Grace. Or they lived happily ever after, though not all in the same place. Stories are what you make them, said Nana. Just like families, said Grace. And that, my dear listeners, is the story Boundless Grace. I love that story. Families are what you make them. Some people are blessed to live with to grow up with the parents that birthed them, and some people are blessed to grow up with other people that love them. Hopefully, everybody has somebody in this world that loves them. If they don't, I love you. But families come in all different configurations, and we just have to embrace families. I just want to say that, in that story when she went to Africa, I just want to share my Africa moment. When I was on the plane in 2017 and going to Ghana, which was my first trip to Africa, it was the most amazing moment in my life to know that I, a descendant of people that were generationally enslaved in this country, who somebody never ever thought that they would go back to Africa again. I'm their descendant and I was returning. It was such an amazing honor and privilege, and just, it was a surreal moment. You know, growing up in school, we learned about Africa was like the moon. It was the most far away, out of touch, unreachable jungle. That's the way they presented it, with wild animals, you know, attacking you at every moment, and people running around with no civilization. That's what was presented. And I clearly saw in the one country I went a very, very diverse and wonderful environment and people, the most loving people. I can't wait till coronavirus is over to go see my family, go back to the Caribbean, and go back to Ghana. So with that said, I think it's a trip everybody needs to make once, at least in their lifetime. Every black person in the world needs to make it, but I think everybody needs to go somewhere throughout Africa so that people can unlearn all the myths and all the misperceptions and all the propaganda that was taught to us about Africa, so that you can see the beauty. Right, Aunt Carol said naked people eating people, running around, you know, I don't even want to describe all the negativity. But I remember sitting in Catholic school, being the only black girl in my class, and the teacher would talk about the savages in Africa. And I laughed like the white children because I didn't even know I was connected to Africa at that level. At that stage in this country, we didn't even really know much about our connection to our African culture and history. We just, well, all we were taught, our generation, my grandparents and their parents, were that we were slaves. We were slaves from Africa. So they almost presented it, they did present it as though slavery was a boost for you, as you were savages in an uncivilized society. And now, even though you're a slave, you're in a civilized world. So it's a slick um, con that they pulled. It was a slick, you know, it's a technology. The Honorable Dr. Muhammad used to say technology. But at any rate, it is a trip everybody should take, you know. And with that said, I love the story of Boundless Grace. And to everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. We're off to a great week. Again, stay home if you can. Places in the country that opened up too soon are shutting back down. So, you know, word to the wise. Okay? We can do this if we all use our head and think wisely. Um, and to those logged on, let's see. Carlton, hi, my high school classmate. Hi, Todd. This is Sam's friend from the Furtado brothers, who do wonderful things for their community. And my cousin Latasha and my Aunt Carol. Love you all. Thank you so much. And y'all have a blessed and wonderful afternoon. Peace.